What do we think here? This is not the model. To be very clear, normally I shirk responsibility onto the model for our predictions on the show. No, this is one of those times where I'm telling you what I feel here in the gut and here. This is the heart speaking. And my heart has led me down some terrible dead-end roads in the past. So why not follow it once more? First up, the Michigan Wolverines. What do we think the win-loss record here is? Well, it's the Bryce Underwood era. We know that. He's going to start from Bell 1. They got some tough road games. In the first 7 weeks of their season, at OU, that's Oklahoma, at Nebraska, at USC. And I cannot get a grip on them. I've told you many, many times, it feels like they're a year away from really competing in the Bryce Underwood era for a national title. But you don't have to compete for a national title to have a really good year. I think the wide receiver group, to me, is what holds them back. They're not dynamic enough there. They don't touch some of these other high-level programs when it comes to wide receiver. If I'm wrong about that, they could compete for it this year. I don't think I'm wrong about that. What I envision is Bryce Underwood shows flashes of what he could be, and what he could be is the best in the country in time. And then they sell that in the portal and recruiting. And this time next year, we're talking about a loaded wide receiver room. I could see that. But in the meantime, they've already lost a swing offensive tackle. They've got elite talent to replace on the defensive front on the other side. I just think they're a year away. I got Michigan going 8-4. So I do have them going under that win total. Apologies, of course, will be due in December if we're wrong about that. Next up, the Oregon Ducks. Went up there a couple of weeks ago. Oregon could very well have their best overall talent roster under Dan Lanning. I think that. I believe that staff feels that. But I think that staff looks at it conditionally. Like, it doesn't matter if you've got your most talented roster if you have deficiencies that are glaring in one or two areas. Do they have that? I don't think so. I think Dante Moore will be a very, very good quarterback. Could be the surprise of the Big Ten, because I think most of the country's just kind of forgotten about him. It's been kind of weird. DeCorian Moore could be a star wide receiver. He could emerge this year. They need that, because I think they need that wide receiver room to shake out and guys to figure out their roles. And I don't really think that happens until a wide receiver one establishes himself. And I think it could be DeCorian Moore. Offensive line should be a strength here. And that was the real big question coming out of last year. And they go get Pregnon, and they go get World, and they have to hit on both of those guys. And they did hit on both of those guys. I was up there a couple of weeks ago. I watched them practice. That's what an Oregon offensive lineman is supposed to look like. I said it twice because I was talking about both of them. Defense has a shot to be really good here. The staff, I think, is another year older and wiser, and it's just a program that's maturing. It continues to add layer after layer of competitive depth. I got Oregon going 11-1 this year. I got them going to the Big Ten championship game, and obviously they're going to be squarely in the playoffs if they go 11-1. Next up, another place we went recently. What do we think about Penn State? Penn State's not a tough team to figure out. Penn State, probably fewest questions out of any of these teams for me. I would call them the Joe Moore Award favorite. We were tossing this around the office earlier today. The Joe Moore Award goes to the best offensive line in the country. And preseason, that's my favorite to win the Joe Moore Award. It's either they're 10-2 or 11-1. You could predict them to go 12-0, but that would be predicting a win at Ohio State. I'm not that bold. But outside of that, like flat out, they should win the Oregon game. In week 5, they're coming off a bye. They've got it in a whiteout at night in Happy Valley. That's Dan Lanning taking his team on the road with a new starter at quarterback. Penn State should win that game. And so I've just got to see the wide receiver unit. Man, if I see Trevor Pinion, Devontae Ross, and Kyron Hudson, along with a couple of those new guys, if I see them able to battle for 50-50 balls, if I'm watching them change the dynamic of 3rd and 5+ for Penn State, because right now 3rd and 6 is let's see what we can get here and make it 4th and manageable. That should not be the vibe around any kind of elite program, a program that's contending for a championship. I've got them going 11-1. That game at Iowa, which people aren't talking about. They pretend it's a 2-game season for Penn State. That game at Iowa is not easy at all, but this is a good team. And I got Penn State going 11-1. I actually do think they're a contender for the national championship. Hey, really quick timeout. We'll get right back to the video. Do me one favor. Make sure you're subscribed. It helps us keep the show free, It helps us keep the lights on. It helps us keep doing college football year-round, and we appreciate it. All right, back to the video. Is Nebraska not a contender for the national championship? Just, is Nebraska back? Yeah, they are back. Before I tell you what the record's going to be, a great American college football brand is set to return to the stage this year. You see that empty chair over there, you wonder who it's for. It turns out it's for Matt Rule and Nebraska. The first thing to get excited about is we get Dylan Raiola back, but we get him paired with Dana Holgerson, new offensive coordinator there, full year now. Just the sum of incremental improvement across the board has me excited. The rule is real. Matt Rule year 3, that's a real thing. It's happened multiple times at lesser programs. So if he did it at Baylor, he did it at Temple, he's going to do it here. I don't expect a massive defensive drop-off. I am really high on their wide receiver unit. I think it's very underrated. And what is it rated? I'm not sure, but not as high as it should be. Every offensive lineman that they're going to start, I believe, has 10-plus starts under his belt. It's a manageable schedule. I just look so forward to the Week 4 game against Michigan because I think they'll be undefeated by Week 4 when Michigan rolls into town. Might we roll into town along with everyone? I've got Nebraska flying over their preseason win total of 7.5, which is egregious, borderline criminal, even by the standards of our friends at FanDuel. I got Nebraska going 10-2 and making the college football playoff. Next up, it's like a Frank Underwood move there. I just don't have the presidential ring on. Ohio State. This one's a tough one for me. Ohio State has questions, but Ohio State has first world questions. They don't have normal questions up there. When they're replacing a ton of production, it's not like, all due respect, like backyard you when your local team is replacing a ton of production. But the defensive line attrition is real here. Replacing both coordinators is real here. Okay, that's going to be a problem no matter what. You lose Chip Kelly, you lose Jim Knowles, that's going to be a problem no matter what. I think their offense is going to flash greatness. When you have the caliber players on the field they are this year, you can't help but flash greatness occasionally. Jeremiah Smith's out there, Brandon Ennis, like guys like that out there. Julian Sain's a very talented quarterback. You just hadn't seen him play yet. They will flash greatness. Will they sustain it? Will it be consistent across the board? Because frankly, it wasn't last year. Like they weren't consistently great last year. They lost 2 games in the regular season last year, which I'm not quite sure has sat with people. When you think about Ohio State last year, what do you think about? National championship. Do you think 2-loss regular season in the process? So I'm looking at them right now. I'm predicting that they'll go 10-2, and I think I'll get a little pushback on that. And my pushback to the pushback is, what are you disagreeing with? This is a less talented or certainly less proven team, not as high caliber a coaching staff, and that crew lost 2 games last year. I'm predicting them to match last year's win-loss record. I think that's more than fair. Next up, USC. Do you have any idea? Does anyone out there have any idea? USC, the collective attitude around that program seems to just be, you'll see. They led like 5 games last year in the fourth quarter in Big Ten play. They ended up losing, which is just the most mind-boggling stat of college football this year. And yet they look around and they say, you'll see. We were out there in the spring. Lincoln Riley essentially said that on the show. You'll see. I'm ready to see. I think the game at Illinois is the hinge game of the season. That is in Week 5. That game is September 27th in Champaign. No one's talking about it nationally. The folks in L.A. know about it. The folks at Illinois certainly know about it. If they come out of that one and they're undefeated, then it sets up, because they got Michigan, Notre Dame, Nebraska as their next 3 games. Then they're thrust into the national spotlight. Jaden Maiava has a full year as the starter now. Like, it's his job. He knows it. It's not Miller Moss, and then he's the backup. I'm excited to see that because Lincoln Riley is more than proven himself with his ability to develop the quarterback position. The defense is what excites me the most. It's not a star-studded, like star-laden group, but the staff is undeniable. The progress they made last year is undeniable. I think that theme will continue this year. Offensive line's probably my biggest question. And their ability to win games, and you think that's the most common sense thing you could say. No, I mean in the one-possession games, the ones that are decided in the fourth quarter, which most of theirs were last year, they were terrible. And there is a skill, there is an innate ability for some teams that know how to win to show it. And then there's the lack of that from organizations that just continue to lose and come up short in those spots. Is USC really just like a loser program? I don't think they are. Lincoln Riley's won. I don't think he forgot how to win. Maybe it's taken a little longer than they thought out there. I'm going to put a 9-3 projection on USC. 9-3, not a playoff team. I got him just on the outside of that bubble, but that's exciting because that holds that recruiting class together, and that probably springboards them into some irresponsible level hype going into next year. The rest of the Big Ten, I've got shaken out like this, and you got to bear with me because I just went through 6 teams, and it's only then that you realize, wow, another 2/3 of the conference. So I looked in Jesse and I said, we can't have a telethon tonight, so let's do 6 teams individually, and then I'll just tell you, I got Illinois going 8-4. I got Indiana going 8-4. I got Washington going 8-4. So I got 3 8-win teams there. Good, solid teams. Just someone's got to tote some L's. I think those are all good records. I think Illinois folks will probably want at least 9-3. And there's probably one more loss there. I don't think it's just as easy as returning a bunch of starters and you carry over all the momentum. I think it'll be a little more bumpy a road. A good team, but a little more bumpy of a road. Same with Indiana this year. Minnesota and Iowa, I both have at 7-5. Iowa concerns me because I think their potential is higher than that. So, out of all these teams, if someone goes like 2 games above what I'm projecting, I think it's probably Iowa going 9-3 instead of 7-5. Rutgers and Michigan State, I both have at 6-6. And then we get below 500. I got Wisconsin at 5-7, and that sucks. I hope I'm wrong about that, but that's the toughest schedule in this league. Still don't know. I'm still asking the fundamental question, what is Wisconsin's identity? UCLA 4-8, Maryland 4-8, Northwestern 3-9, Purdue 3-9. So obviously someone in that bottom group is going to shock the world. Happens every year. Indiana did it last year. Who would it be? My guess is Michigan State. If someone truly shocks the world, out of the ones I have projected like 7-5 or worse, I would say probably Michigan State. But there's just a lot of that bottom half of the Big Ten. Hopefully that changes.